Today we had Karsten Warholm versus Mondo Duplantis, and I am shocked that Karsten Warholm lost, and a little disappointed too because he should have won this race. In the race analysis, I see that Mondo Duplantis has a superior drive phase, which is shocking and exciting to see. And he has a way better reaction to the gun. And I think Karsten Warholm, despite having a inferior drive phase, I think if he would have reacted as fast as Mondo Duplantis, they could have gone neck and neck with the photo finish at the line. Because if you look at that race, Karsten Warholm reacted at least 1/10 or maybe 2/10 slower. By the time Mondo Duplantis had his first foot on the ground, Karsten Warholm was still in the air, not even with his first step near the ground. That was absurd, and he kind of made it close, just 1/10 difference. It's close, but it's a convincing loss. But all I gotta say is Karsten Warholm is two things I gotta take away from this race. Karsten Warholm is not as fast as we thought, and three. The second thing is the 400-meter world record in the hurdles is still in development. It can still go under evolution because if a 10.4 guy, with maybe a 10.3 with a good reaction, if that type of sprinter can run a 45 in the hurdles, imagine what a 10 flat sprinter can do. Oh wait, we got one, Rai Benjamin. So Rai Benjamin, he needs to master the hurdles. It's evident that Rai Benjamin is a faster sprinter, but he's not at the same mastery as Karsten Warholm in terms of the hurdles. That's why he's lost to Karsten more than he's won. Recently he's been winning, but peak for peak, Karsten beats Rai. So if Rai Benjamin can maximize his potential and find a race strategy where he can use as much speed, just as much speed, relatively speaking, like Karsten Warholm, then I think Rai will never lose a 400-meter hurdle race again in his career because there's no other hurdler. Maybe Dos Santos, we don't know his speed, but no, he will never lose to Karsten or Dos Santos again if he can use 100% of his speed. Technically, he's not going to use 100% of his speed in a 400, but I'm saying if he's able to use 90 to 95 like Karsten does, right? Because Rai has to do a step pattern in order to glide over the hurdles, but we know he can go much faster. He just hasn't found that pattern to maximize and use his speed. So, yeah, Rai Benjamin, I think he's the guy to take this event to a 44-second range, because after today, I think it is possible. If you have enough speed, I think you can do like a 12-step pattern over the first 200 on those hurdles, and that's if you're fast enough. And then the third thing is, I think Karsten Warholm, honestly, I think he was not peaked for this race. And guys, this is the thing. Karsten Warholm is slower than DK Metcalf, the football player that raced against pro athletes in the 100 3 years ago. DK Metcalf is 6'4", I believe, 230, 240 pounds. He's an absolute unit. Go on YouTube. You'll see the video where he races against Mike Rogers and Cravon Gillespie. That big-ass giant freak of nature who doesn't train track and field has a stronger, basically a stronger 0 to 60, because I'd imagine Karsten Warholm finishes way stronger than DK Metcalf over the last 20, but even then he wouldn't be able to beat DK Metcalf based on their PRs. So wow, Karsten Warholm, what the hell? I'm disappointed that you lost this race, but I'm impressed that you've been able to create one hell of a career with such a mediocre 100-meter time. Like, we literally thought Karsten Warholm could contend for the 400-meter open world record, and honestly, maybe he can, because we do know, based on this race, that his best strengths in track is his strength to hold his speed. So maybe he can crack that 400 world record in the open in the future, because he does have the strength. He has a similar characteristic like Quincy Hall, but he needs more speed, in my opinion, to even reach that. But what we do know is Karsten Warholm is not a speedy 400-meter hurdler. He's a strength 400-meter hurdler, and I'm talking relatively speaking for the top three. Rai is a speed guy who has to hold back. Karsten is the strength guy who maintains his speed better than everybody, and Alison Dos Santos is the blitzer who can start just as fast as Karsten, but he can finish as strong as Dry. But it has to take a special race, and we seen that when he won the world championship 2 years ago. But it's like he's the best of both. He's a mix of both, but he doesn't put both of those traits together at the perfect time a lot of the times. So I'm excited for the hurdle events next year because I believe we can go low 44s, like I said. Faster guys can definitely break that 45-second world record. And for Karsten Warholm, bro, get your speed up. Like, imagine if you were to be able to run a 10 flat. You can take down your world record to like a 45-2, 45-1. Because we know you can hold the speed, but do you have enough speed to ever take it to that level? I don't know. Maybe you will never will. I suggest Karsten Warholm takes this whole off season and master and advance his speed farther than anything he can imagine. Because, man, take a note from Mondo Duplantis' his success diary or success story. Mondo Duplantis breaks world records every year, and we expect him to do it. And you know why? Because he's fast. He didn't stall on his speed. In high school, he ran a 10.5 that was close to a 10.6. Now he's running a 10.3, which can potentially be a 10.4. He's the type to self-improve. Look, he's even leaner than Karsten Warholm. He looks to be in better shape. He looks sharper. Karsten looks like he's chilling. Like, he's like, yeah, I expect to win. Like, I'm not even here peaked because he believes he should beat him. But Mondo Duplantis is taking this seriously. And he took that race seriously. Perfect start. Great drive phase. Like, guys, Mondo Duplantis, when you start out of the blocks, you need the reaction, but the most importantly is the drive phase. And his first 4 steps, it shows me that he has a lot of strength in his heels and in his ankles, actually, in his ankle and his hamstrings, because when he was making those steps, he didn't let his legs overextend like Karsten. And when he struck the ground, his ankles didn't bend and didn't heel strike the ground. Like, he maintained his legs in a fixed position, in an isometric position when he struck the ground, and all that power that he generated transferred to the ground in the most precise manner, and that allowed him to propel forward faster than Karsten Warholm. Like, just look at the race. If you know track, you know what I'm talking about. Karsten Warholm's dry phase was like Lucilla Tobogo's. They're fast guys, but the dry phase is so sloppy that they compensate it with their big-ass strides during the middle part of the race. But dang, Mondo Duplantis is a real good sprinter for the type of athlete he is. And props to him. But Karsten Warholm, you should honestly be just as good, if not better, than Mondo Duplantis, given that you're a world record holder and you actually beat guys who are world-class sprinters like Rai Benjamin. Karsten Warholm is not a world-class sprinter in the 100 or 200, in my opinion. Well, maybe in the 200, but definitely not the 100. But, not even 200. He's barely world-class, right? But given that, I would expect him to have a way better dry phase than some guy who pole vaults, right? Mondo Duplantis never starts from the blocks. He starts from, like, a crouch position like the football player, or standing position. So he's never going to practice that in the pole vault. So how the hell does he have a better dry phase than Karsten Warholm, who literally starts off the blocks in his premier event and is training sprints? He's training starts. So we know he's training short sprints. He's training curves. He's training straightaways. He's training all different types of sprints on the track, and they all involve the block. So how the hell do you have such a lousy reaction and dry phase, specifically the dry phase? Because we knew Karsten Warholm accelerates really good compared to other hurdlers, but against other, not even world-class athletes, just another good sprinter in Mondo Duplantis. Imagine with a 100-meter guy that raced in Paris, Karsten Warholm would have gotten exposed even worse. So it just goes to show that the 400-meter hurdles in general is a graveyard event. If you have a couple kind of good sprinters in there like Karsten, Allison, and Bry, they're going to just dominate and always be in the medals. Nobody else has a chance. So, guys, if you want to be a world-class hurdler, get gold medals, and in the women's hurdles event, you honestly need to be a world-class sprinter in the 200 or 100 or be close to it. And if you're close enough, you're going to get a gold medal, maybe world records in the 400-meter hurdles, women's and men's. Wow. Both of those events have gone great revolution in the last 5 years, ever since 2019. It started in 2018 for the men's, but it started to kick off for the women's in 2019. But ever since that, it's been the modern era of the hurdles. But even the modern era right now for the men's has plateaued in terms of world record evolution. The woman is still evolutionizing, but still, even with McLaughlin recently setting the world record, I still believe that the 400-meter hurdles, with a true master of the event, the men's can run a 44 and a mid 44, potentially low 44 with the true master. With the true master, I believe it can be a low 44 400-meter hurdle world record for the men's. And for the women's, I believe it can be a 49 low or a 48.78. But I don't think we'll see that for a few years. Maybe with Sydney McLaughlin in like 3 years, if she really like grinds like she has been, she could definitely reach that. It's going to be crazy. But she would have to be a master, like the ultimate master. She's good right now, but not the master yet. And Karsten, he's a master at the event, but he just doesn't have the speed to take it further. Ryan Benjamin, he's okay. He's solid. He's not a master because he keeps changing his strategy every year. That shows you he's not a master. He's trying to master it, but he's compensated so well and been competitive because he has literally a world-class speed, like a world-class 100-meter speed advantage. Guys, if you're running 10 flat in the 100 versus a guy who runs a 10-4, and you both train for the 400, you would assume that the 10 flat guy is going to whoop the 10-4 guy in a 400-meter hurdle race. And recently it has, but it's not because of speed. It's been due to execution. Peak for peak, the 10-4 guy has been whooping Rice's ass for the large part of their history. So, wow. Props to Karsten Warholm for camouflaging his, relatively speaking, mediocre speed in the 100. Congrats to that for camouflaging really good with his 400-meter hurdle strength and success and execution, and by beating world-class guys like Ryan Benjamin and Alison Dos Santos. But I'm also disappointed that he's not as fast as I thought, and he lost to a pole vaulter. Not any pole vaulter, but still. A guy who doesn't train off the blocks like Karsten Warholm does. So, yeah, guys, that's crazy. Karsten Warholm, get your game up.